I was mentioning social media was just the fragmentation of media broadly and the opportunity that creates, but also the idea of what, these players, younger players, like everybody knows you. You are like a rock star. And the question that I wonder actually in this new social media universe is actually whether you can create a KD or...
Well, it's interesting you asked that because I just said to him yesterday that I think that this past era in the NBA may very well end up being the most famous era ever in professional basketball and sports to some degree. And that may not be able to be duplicated because this era grew up in the beginning of social media. Russell Westbrook, LeBron, Steph, this was products of this entire era on social media. Now for these young guys coming into the league, even a Wemby or an Ant, there's so much saturation, there's so much optionality, people's attention spans are lower than ever, desensitized to the point where they've seen this now, so there's no wow factor in it. And it's not to say that these aren't big stars, but this era, I could name 15, 20 guys from the last 2 decades in the NBA that are household names all over the country, some of them all over the world. That, I think, may not be duplicated because of the fact that the saturation is so extreme.
And then what's that going to do to sponsorship then?
Well, I mean, it's not that it changes sponsorship. Maybe the flow of deal opportunity could be less. Maybe the magnitude of some of it because it's so spread out. Money's spent on streamers, money's spent on influencers. The big stars are the big stars. Someone like Anthony Edwards is taking a very traditional model in that like all the brands are spending with him. But I do think that there's got to be more creativity probably, right? There's some athletes that come out of college, like a player, Jared McCain on the Sixers, who, he's a lottery pick, but this is not someone that I think everyone thought was a household name, but because of the brand he built for himself on TikTok, he's been very active in getting brand deals. So I think you have to bring a bit more to the table potentially than just winning, right? Like, which sucks because at the end of the day, he would always say to me when I'd say we should do more early in his career, I'd say we should do more brand deals, but we gotta get out there. And he's like, I just have to play in June. If I'm playing in June, all this will work out. And I think that's still true to an extent, but I think we've seen some players that have played in the finals that have won championships, and it's not necessarily connecting with people the same way that this generation did.
Yeah, so how do you think about that? Because I've always thought of you as a quiet guy, actually. And in this social media universe, whether you think you have to not just perform on the court, but perform.
No, I never. No. I always felt like I was catering to the basketball community only, and by doing that is just going out there and playing my game. I just felt like my game speaks for itself, to be honest. And I've done a lot of brand deals and commercials, and felt like I needed to advertise who I was, but I was just really getting in the way of what I really love to do, which was hang out with my friends, go to the gym, be normal, you know what I'm saying? So I always value my time more than anything, and always felt like the NBA platform, which is full of billions of people, I want to say it's the second most watched sport in the world, I felt like that's all I needed.
But that's a very, and the question though, I guess where I'm going with it is, you succeeded in that environment, and the question is, if you were talking to a 22-year-old on your team today, would you say do it exactly like I did it and it'll work for you? I
would say build your game up to be the best that you can be, and once you get on that platform of the NBA Finals, the playoffs, when you playing 7 games on and there's 5-6 million people watching every other night, that's when you be who you are. Don't try to change up your personality. Don't try too hard. Just be exactly who you are. Showcase your game, and then people are going to gravitate towards you.
Well, I would just say his method of going about it was his method of going about it. And it worked because, like he said, of what he was able to do on the court. He also did, at one point, have more brand deals than any player in the NBA. When I first started working with him, it was 13, 14 different brand deals. And there's some players that, if they ask Kevin for his advice, or if I speak to a young player, I think that if that's something you want to do, that's still a very viable path, especially if you're trying to get your face out there and you may not have the opportunity to play late into June. Mm-hmm. But I think what Kevin's been able to do is show that there's a different blueprint you can take. that less can be more, that your game can speak for itself. And it's not that he's not fulfilling his business desires where you don't see him, right? Like when we got to Silicon Valley, it was important for me when we first started meeting these people to have Kevin with me. I was still building the brand of who we were. And that to me is showing up, right, in business and delivering. It's just different.
Okay, there's another thing we haven't talked about, which I think is a huge component of you, the Olympics.
Yeah.
And Team USA. And you've been a consistent piece of that team for a very long time. Where does that factor into all of this?
I think it's a huge part. I feel like Team USA also presented that platform to put us on a big stage. I mean, so many people watching, and then having that pride for just playing for your country. I mean, it's a dream come true. Going to other countries and representing the United States and seeing that pride that everybody has for their country. It's a special thing. And you seen it last summer. The Olympic coverage was just magical. We were just talking about it backstage, how iconic just those last few games were, just seeing us move around like that throughout the whole summer. I mean, words can't describe how that experience is, and I always advise young players, they get a chance to play for their country, to go do it. It's just an incredible experience.
Okay, so I assume you want to play in 28?
Yeah, if I'm still me. I don't want the gift of the veteran, like come sit on the end of the bench and get your fifth.
Would you ever want to coach, by the way?
Some days I would, some days I wouldn't. It's tough dealing with personalities, man. Some days I'm up for it, some days I'm not. But we'll see. I still enjoy going to the gym every day, so that's the start of it.
Okay, I got a different one for you. Would you guys ever want to own a team or own part of a team?
We've been talking about this for years, for a decade, of course.
Okay, so what do you got to do to get that to
I
happen?
mean, it's easier said than done. I mean, these teams are going up. These teams are more and more valuable every year. But just keep grinding.
Yeah, I mean, I think like a lot of the panels earlier, these prices are getting insane. So when you ask, like, is there an opportunity to be a controlling owner of an NBA team, that seems like it could be tough. But also
Stretch goal.
But also like investing in general, I think as private equity is diversifying these cap tables, as some of these billionaires are buying teams and the valuations are so high, you need to bring added value and strategic value to these organizations, expertise, the ability to generate revenue in a multitude of ways. And I think that we could be a very valuable addition to an organization from that standpoint, right? Like if you're trying to build a team, you're not going to get much better than having someone like Kevin with your team. If you're talking about building a brand and understanding how to build community, I think that we can be an incredible addition to it.
Are you of the view, you said that prices are getting insane. As a player, how do you actually think about that? You're watching these prices go up and you're watching the owners get way wealthier than you are. How do you feel about that?
I mean, they do take a lot of the risk too. I mean, they do. It's a lot, to own a basketball team. I mean, obviously, your best players are, generating a lot of money, and we could be making more money, but that's a slippery question, man. I mean, but for the most part, we're living a great life. The salaries are going up every year. I think Shai Gilgeous is going to make $80 million on one of his last couple years of his contract. So the money's growing. I think each collective bargaining agreement, the players union try to, move it in the favor of the players, but we're working towards getting more.